I promised I would give you some actions you can take today to initiate culture change, no matter where you sit on the org chart. I'd love to know which action you are going to take. If you follow the Aviation Collective on social media, send us a direct message to let us know. Telling someone is a great way to set yourself up for accountability. To build respect, extend an invitation to share a conversation or even a mealtime with someone who isn't just like you. Maybe they're a different age or come from a different background. Maybe they are in a different department. Yes, I've heard marketing and engineering can find a common language if they try. Join an affinity group if your company has those, or start an informal one. At larger organizations, these are formed around everything from gender and faith to hobbies and parenting stages. It provides common ground. I love the icebreaker at conference tables where a very diverse group of people has to present to the larger group some of the traits every person has in common. You can suggest or organize a lunch and learn with someone who has more knowledge than the rest of the team on a particular topic. If that person is open to a Q&A, he or she may also learn something. If you're doing it on Zoom, just make sure you're muted if you're eating potato chips. Another action that goes a long way is asking someone what you can do to make their job easier. Just be sure not to commit to something you can't reasonably perform. Sometimes just asking the question helps. This is just the tip of the iceberg for improving respect where you work, and I'm sure you notice not one of those ideas is out of reach for anyone in the organization. Resources are a little bit of a different story. But if you don't control them, don't assume you're off the hook. I still believe that everyone at an organization influences the culture, and everyone influences the resources. Certainly, everyone has the ability to waste them, especially time, right? Okay, no guilt trips, not going there. Participating in good communication about software systems or potential safety issues is really helpful. Speak up when there's a policy that makes your job harder or is outdated and needs to be changed. Other people on your team may not be aware of the struggle or the resulting new opportunity. If you're in a position to do so, changing policies can be helpful. It can also be disruptive. One way to mitigate this is with the use of experiments. We did this in a company I used to lead when we tried working from home offices for the summer in 2019, before everyone else was forced to work from home. We found, like I'm sure many of you have, that we can be just as productive at home with some adjustments to the way that we work. Creating an environment with some degree of flexibility helps us adjust when there's a change to the resources, right? How about outsourcing complicated software development to get a project over the finish line? Trying a concentrated 6-hour workday when kids are remote learning. All of these actions can be temporary, or as I like to call them, experiments, minor adjustments. And just like we adjust the throttle or air-fuel mixture, we must give and receive feedback for resources to be properly allocated. Reasons are both company-wide and personal. If you're an employee, I think it's really important to get clear about the reason you're at that company. Ask questions if you need to in order to understand your role and what your personal impact is on either the top line contribution or bottom line improvement in the company. You can develop that with your manager or your direct reports, or both, depending on your role in the organization. The importance of reiterating why cannot be understated. People lose their way when they lose their why. In the study we completed, a large percentage of both managers and employees noted that having and setting clear expectations was an aid to good culture. They also said the lack of clear expectations was a major detractor for people loving their job. An overwhelming majority of aviation employees indicated they needed more clarity about their value to the company or how they could meaningfully improve that with a clear advancement path aligned. Managers can set regular check-ins to have candid conversations about this, even outside of formal reviews. Some people call it mentorship, and most people want it. As a leader, you can provide some units of measure to promote fair assessment of people's performance. Do you have transparent key performance indicators? Could you make them more clear or transparent with regular check-ins? In flight, we are constantly monitoring a number of instruments to be assured everything is going smoothly. It's easy to fixate on the one that seems to be deviating the most, only to find that you've drifted in another area. As a leader, you need to develop the scan that informs your realignment decisions. As I mentioned before, I'd like to invite you to join my upcoming workshop to jumpstart some changes to your workplace culture. If you visit theaviationcollective.com/workshop, you can see the dates that it's publicly available. I also have said a few times that everyone influences the culture of an organization, and I know if you're going to affect change, you probably can't do it alone. The workshop will be interactive. You'll have time for Q&A with me and guided discussions that you can have with your team to make small changes for immediate impact and longer-term goals to arrive at that destination you've envisioned. Here's a little more about the workshop. Both smaller and larger teams can benefit from conducting a workplace culture survey, giving insights into any drift that's happened as our workplaces have had to adapt to unexpected changes over the last 2 years. We'll send you the questions to collect ahead of time. On the day of the workshop, we'll examine how the behaviors of your team underscore or undermine your company values and what you can do to make improvements, even if it's already good. We'll spend some time analyzing how systems, processes, procedures, and common workplace practices might be hindering productivity, safety, innovation, or profitability. As customer needs, working environments, and outside influence shift over time, we need to take a fresh look at how we are accomplishing our most important initiatives, especially in light of how they line up with our values. If policies and practices are where culture shifts gain momentum, communications are where they start. We'll take a hard look at our intentions about communications, what is actually happening, and how to close the gap. I recently realized I had created some drift in my meetings when I quit sticking to an agenda. Or, if we can be really honest with each other, I quit creating an agenda. The little considerations in communications matter, and a meeting agenda is a great way to let team members know you value their time. While I cannot help you change your culture miraculously overnight, I can provide measures to take you in that direction and teach you some steps for better accountability on this critical work. I hope that you and several of your team members will join me on this journey. I recently conducted one of these workshops for a fairly well-known aviation department, and the department head took 2 pages of actionable notes, which he relayed to us at the end of the presentation. It was really powerful. At the beginning of the training, I promised to tell you my biggest takeaways from the workplace culture survey we conducted earlier this year if you stuck with me till the end. Hopefully, they'll give you insights into ways you can strengthen culture at your company, because everyone in an organization influences its culture. Here are my top 5 takeaways. More people indicated that good workplace culture is the most important factor in their employment decisions than any other single factor. All generations except Gen Z indicated that being passionate about aviation was a driver for them. The youngest generation in the workforce said they prioritize their individual value or team mission. This is a trend we should pay attention to for the future. This one is heartbreaking to me. Less than 16% of workers believed that poor performance is adequately addressed in their workplace. And by the way, it's always the best performers that are frustrated by the lack of accountability for excellence. The top detractors in workplace culture are lack of a clear advancement path, low pay or benefits, and inadequate access to professional development opportunities. Some of those are likely just a communication gap. The biggest gaps in submissions between employees and managers suggest that leaders don't recognize or communicate about individuals' growth potential, or they just aren't invested in their people's success in a meaningful way. This lack of engagement or investment is a human element that can prove incredibly costly to companies with both retention and productivity. All of these findings point to addressable obstacles, and these are exactly what we cover in the Workplace Culture Workshop. I'd love to see you on a future workshop. You can sign up for that at theaviationcollective.com/workshops. Thank you.